I'm pleased to talk to you today about the agency's recent proposed lead and copper rule improvements. This regulatory proposal is grounded in the best available science, and it's based on practices that are being utilized by public water supply systems across the country. I want to focus on 5 key elements of the lead and copper rule improvements proposal, starting with first, achieving 100% lead service line replacement requirements in virtually all the systems across the country. We know that where they're present, lead service lines represent the most significant source of drinking water lead exposure. That's why we're proposing to require virtually all public water supply systems to replace their lead service lines within a 10-year time frame. We know that this is achievable because there are water systems across the country like Newark, New Jersey, Green Bay, Wisconsin, and Benton Harbor, Michigan, that have already done this within a 10-year time frame. The second component of the rule that I want to talk about is locating those legacy lead service lines. It's important for us to know where those lead service lines are in order to be able to replace them. The current lead and copper rule already has requirements for water systems to complete an inventory by the fall of 2024. And what we're proposing to do under this new regulation is to build on that initial inventory and require water systems to regularly update their service line inventory to identify those unknown lines in their inventory to determine if those unknowns are actually lead service lines or galvanized lines that require replacement. The third component that I want to talk about in the lead and copper rule improvements proposal is the improvements to the tap sampling. The proposed LCRI would make changes to the tap sampling requirements based on practices that are being implemented now by leading states like Michigan. What we are proposing to require is that water systems with lead service lines would be required to collect both a first liter sample and a fifth liter sample, and to use the highest of those 2 sample results to determine whether or not their system's 90th percentile level is an exceedance of the action level. The next component that I want to talk to you about is the lowering of the action level. We are proposing to lower the lead action level from 15 parts per billion to 10 parts per billion. When a water system's tap sampling results, the 90th percentile results, exceed that revised action level, water systems would be required to take action to notify their customers, to educate their customers, and to reduce their consumers' exposure to drinking water lead by taking actions such as installing corrosion control or revising their existing corrosion control treatment to improve its performance. It's important to remember that because we're requiring all water systems to replace their lead service lines, irrespective of the tap sampling results, it would not be resulting in lead service line replacement, as that would be required irrespective of tap sampling results. The fifth and final component of the proposed LCRI that I'd like to talk to you about is how we are proposing to strengthen the protections to reduce exposure. Water systems can and have exceeded the action level for lead for extended periods of time. So what we're proposing to require is in those situations, for those multiple lead action level exceedances, and which we're defining as more than 3 action level exceedances in a 5-year period, water systems would be required to conduct additional outreach to inform their consumers about the elevated levels of lead and the actions they can take to reduce their exposure, and to make lead filters available to those consumers. And those lead filters would be required to obviously to reduce lead levels. So these are the 5 components that we think are really critical to highlight in the proposed LCRI. Now that full proposal is going to be available at the agency's website, and it'll be published in the Federal Register on December 6th. We in the agency encourage you all to review the lead and copper rule proposal, and we are taking comments on this proposal up until February 4th of 2024.